the NDC. And they've come to the realization that the consistency is not there.
Last Friday, the Vice President, Dr. Alhaji Mahamudu Bawumia, returned the nomination forms that was collected on his behalf by his supporters earlier in the week. He returned the forms to the leadership of the New Patriotic Party, signifying the formal beginning of his ambition to lead the New Patriotic Party. And wasn't this a grand occasion? The crowd, the numbers, the good politics of a bus ride instead of showing a fleet of Land Cruisers all combined to create the appearance of a new beginning. What is this new beginning? Well, Bawumia supporters say that it will be the first time that a non-Akan candidate of the NPP is showing a formidable candidature. He's already said to be leading in the polls, and Dr. Bawumia is thought of as the best campaigner among the lot. But how did the NPP get here? Well, whether by providence or by design, the NPP has always been led by an Akan candidate. Name them Dankwa, Buzia, Owusu, Oforiatta, Edubuahin, Kufuor, Akufo-Addo. So how come this happened? Well, the story would have been different if one of these three men had been more ambitious. This is the story about Kwame Nkrumah, Bafo Akoto, and SD Dombo. The story is told on page 53 of the book K.A. Buzia, A Symbol of Democracy. Is written by Anania J and is forwarded by President J.A. Kufuor. Now the story begins with the actions of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah recorded in the first paragraph of page 53 of the book, and is as follows. In 1957, the government enacted a law called the Avoidance of Discrimination Act. The act, which came into effect on 31st December 1957, stated, among other things, an act to prohibit organizations using or engage in tribal, regional, racial, or religious propaganda to the detriment of any other community, or securing the election of persons on account of their tribal, regional, or religious affiliation, and for other purposes connected therewith. The book continues. All political parties apart from the CPP would have been disbanded because of the majority of their parties were either regional based or had religious affinities. In September 1957, about 3 months before the commencement of the act, the smaller parties coalesced into a unified entity called the United Party, UP. That, according to Mr. C.K. Tedem, a founding member of the UP, was a safeguard of total collapse of multi-party democracy in Ghana. The opposition parties anticipated that Nkrumah intended to make Ghana a one-party state, which he did eventually, and entrench himself as life president. The parties that constituted the UP included the Aborigines Rights Protection Society, ARPS, the Anlon Youth Organization, AYO, the Gadangbe Shifimokwe, GASK, the Ghana Congress Party, GCP, the Muslim Association Party, MAP, the National Liberation Movement, NLM, the Northern People's Party, NPP, and the Togoland Congress, TCP. So at the end of the elections, all of these parties now knew how many members they had contributed to the United Party. It was clear and mathematically obvious that the Northern People's Party, led by SB Dombo and Mumuni Bawumia, had won more seats among the smaller parties than any other group of people, including the NLM. To that extent, the leader of the minority in parliament was naturally to come from the Northern People's Party. But something else happened. Recorded in the last paragraph of page 53 of the book as follows. A remarkable feature about Buzia's appointment as leader of the UP in Parliament was the trait of selflessness that the leaders of the various opposition parties demonstrated in making Buzia their new leader. Of the parties that merged, the Northern People's Party, the NPP, had the highest number of seats in the National Assembly, and their leader, Simon Diodong Dombo, could have remained leader of the minority in the assembly. Considering Dombo's previous position and the fact that his party was the minority party with the highest number of seats in Parliament, he, Dombo, could have been the automatic leader of the new party. More so, he had the requisite qualities for holding office. However, he, Dombo, realized that Buzia had extra attributes such as exposure and influence and clout, which would better serve the interest of the party and the country. Dombo, therefore, entrusted the leadership of the opposition to Buzia. That act of Dombo has earned him a respectable position in the UP tradition now known as Dankwa Dombo Buzia tradition, and the members talk passionately of Dombo's selflessness. So the matter seems settled in some people's minds. There was Dankwa, whose side of the party has been ably represented by Pa Willie and Nana Akufo-Addo. And then there was Buzia, who was actually presented as an Ashanti candidate under the inspiration of the great Bafo Sakoto, who shares a paternal relationship of sorts with President J.A. Kufuor. In fact, Mr. Kufuor has often called Buzia his political mentor. So, Kufuor represented the Buzia part of the tradition. Now, they say that in spite of his selflessness, Dombo has not found a protege. So people think when some people say Edrumiso, it should have more to do with the Dombo part of the tradition than about anyone else. Well, all that may be emotional and cosmetic. So there is another group that advances the arguments for Dr. Bawumia. They have drawn their strength from data. They say that the geographic Ghana shows a clear distribution of votes since the beginning of the Fourth Republic. They said that for the NPP to win elections for the third time or break the eight, they, the NPP, will necessarily need to take portions of traditional NDC areas whilst they work hard to unite and keep their base. They make the point that compared to President Liman, Vice President and President Mahama, they believe that Dr. Bawumia has given the North a clear, competent turnout even with his role as Vice President. They also make the point that if the contest falls between Dr. Bawumia and President Mahama, many young people from the North across the country would want to secure a third presidency for the North by electing Dr. Bawumia. So there will be Dr. Liman, President Mahama, and Dr. Bawumia. On the other hand, if the young Northerners elect President Mahama, they would have had only two, Dr. Liman and President Mahama, which they actually already have. After all, the Ashantis have only J.A. Kufuor. Maybe we could add Achampong and Afrifa, but maybe not. The Evers have J.J. Rawlings. The Fantis have Professor J.E.A. Mills, and the Achims have Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. If the NPP gives the North the opportunity to have a third presidency, then Bawumia supporters say all the young Northerners will vote NPP all the way.
They know John Mahama cannot take me on in the North. I will beat him in the North. I will beat him in the North. They know it. They know the Zongos will change. Bahagabani. They know the Zongos will change. And even voter, we will get something from there. So, I know this is why they don't want me to be flag bearer. You the NDC, you want to select our flag bearer for us. How can you hear that?
But politics is not only about tribe. It's about competence, suitability, and marketability. So, in that regard, who is Dr. Bawumia? Dr. Bawumia was fathered by a politician named Mumuni Bawumia.
We now have the arrival of the Chairman of the Council of States, Alhaji Mumuni Bawumia.
He, Mumuni, together with SD Dombo, founded and led the Northern People's Party in early politics. Their fundamental interest was to secure development for the Northern Territories. They wanted the matters that concerned the North to be heard. They loved their people. Mumuni Bawumia became a minister in the Second Parliament of the First Republic. In that regard, nature has played out an interesting scenario. If Dr. Bawumia becomes the MPP candidate for 2024, he will be contesting John Mahama directly as opponent for the first time. But many decades ago, their fathers, John Mahama's father and Dr. Bawumia's father, sat in the same cabinet here in Ghana in 1965.
The Second Parliament of the First Republic, August 24, 1965. Members of the Executive and Officers of Parliament. His Excellency Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, President and Commander-in-Chief. Honorable Kojobo Tio, Chairman, State Planning Commission. Honorable N.A. Welbeck, Minister of State for Party Propaganda. Honorable Imoro Igala, Minister for Industries. Honorable L.R. Abavana, Minister of the Interior. Honorable Kofi Bakun, Minister of Defense. Honorable E.K. Bensa, Minister of Works. Honorable A.J. Douna Hammond, Minister of Communications. Honorable E.N. Okansi, Minister of Parks and Gardens. Honorable E.A. Mahama, Minister of Animal Husbandry. Honorable Hans Kofi Boni, Minister of Food and Nutrition. Honorable Mumuni Bawumia, Minister of Local Government. Honorable F.E. Techi Mensen, Minister of Housing.
And say, that's so Musulmi, come vote for us. Isn't that the case? They'll say, but if MPP selects Dr. Bawumia, campaign no, at all so. They know the campaign is over. So they will be in trouble. They know we will bring the eight.
Mumuni Bawumia returned to active politics in the Fourth Republic as Chairman of the Council of State, a position he held when JJ was president. Thus, Mumuni Bawumia shared political space with the NDC, JJ Rawlings and Mrs. Rawlings. How do we interpret this? Supporters of Dr. Bawumia say given the senior Bawumia's huge image in the North, associated with his deep service to the CPP and the NDC, Dr. Bawumia is the best candidate to draw votes from the Nkrumahist and the NDC people who trusted his father's politics. And will there be people in the North who like Mumuni Bawumia's politics? Oh yes, there will be many. But the story doesn't end there. A very basic assessment of parliamentary figures from the northern regions since 2008 will show that the MPP have moved from closing the gap on the NDC in the North to actually overtaking the NDC with the total number of seats from the three northern regions. Unbelievable, but here are the details. In election 2008, of 230 seats in parliament with 26 in the northern regions, the NDC won 21, whereas the MPP won only 4. That was the NDC winning the northern regions over the MPP by 80.7%. That was Bawumia's first time as running mate. Then in 2012, the seat had become 31 in the northern region as it is now. NDC got 20, MPP got 10, an independent candidate got 1. That was NDC winning by 64.5%. Then in 2016, when the MPP won a landslide victory, results were as follows. Out of 31 seats, NDC won 18, NPP won 13. That was NDC winning by 58.0%. Then comes the big one, 2020, and the MPP goes ahead of the NDC by gaining the lead in the 3 northern regions over the same 31 seats as follows. Northern region, NDC wins 9 seats, NPP wins 9 seats. Savannah region, NDC wins 4 seats, NPP win 3 seats. Northeast region, NDC win 2 seats, MPP win 4 seats. Altogether, now in the 3 northern regions, the New Patriotic Party is in a commanding lead. They have 16 seats and the NDC have 15 seats, coming from the NDC's lead of 80% in 2008. That means after 4 election cycles since Dr. Bawumia became vice president on the MPP ticket, he has drawn down the NDC's leadership of 80% in the north to now lead the NDC. This is phenomenal. Can one also say that in the same election cycle process, John Mahama has led the NDC to whittle down its 80% lead in the north to now be behind the MPP? Well, the jury is out on that one. Some may also say that there is no scientific correlation to the MPP's success in the north and the work of Dr. Bawumia. Well, that may be true, but they must show how else the MPP has been able to beat the NDC in the north, especially in 2020's election, because in that election, the NPP were losing parliamentary seats all across the country, but in the north, they were gaining. In fact, it stands to reason that if the MPP had not done so well in the north in the 2020 elections, today the NDC may have had majority in parliament. So Dr. Bawumia's strength in turning around the north is obvious. They say that is why the NDC is afraid of him. But how did Dr. Bawumia gain so much credence in only 16 years in real politics? It was about this. Now, Dr. Bawumia is an economist and he had been with the central bank and he had become a politician. Between 2008 and 2012, he had introduced a kind of new narrative to the Ghanaian political discourse, and this was about heavy reliance on data. Dr. Bawumia had been doing a lot of political talk with data, and that was very new to the Ghanaian people. Historically, politicians do not rely a lot on data. They rely on personality, advocacy, etc., etc. But here was a great advocate, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, who had also introduced this data matter that a lot of the youth were jumping onto. So he had achieved sufficient believability among Ghanaians with his excessive reliance on data. When it was said that he was going to be the key witness for the petitioners, it raised the stakes of this case, and so the case was actually getting bigger. And this was the election petition. This event turned out to show Bawumia as famously competent, very articulate, a fighter for what he believes in, a respectful and very confident young man. By the time the petition was over, almost every young person in Ghana wanted their son to be like Bawumia. Indeed, Dr. Bawumia got the election petition right.
Let us put down my analysis and show me one repeated polling station in my analysis. If you are afraid of the truth, then of course you will hide behind these exhibit numbers. Dr. Bawumia, I'm sorry.
It's not a free fight.
just state your answer to it without any blows.
Yeah, but my lord, with the greatest respect, I do not think we can treat this lightly.
After the election petition, it became obvious that Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia would be the key spokesperson for the MPP for the 2016 campaign. And whoa, did he not? Eventually, it's 2 days to go. The apostolic people, they have a song. Yeah, Munjaime. Have you heard that song? Hey, Charlie, politics, power this. Now, viewers, let me ask you a question. Now, tonight we have two important guests. The most important guest, one of the most important people in Ghana today, two of them, two of the ballot paper, Mahamudu Bawumia and former President Dramani Mahama are the two most important Ghanaians between now and Saturday. One of them will be elected president of Ghana. The other one will not be elected president of Ghana. But for now, both of them are the two most important people, okay? So this evening is about them. Yesterday, we had the very distinguished pleasure of having in the studio Mahamudu Bawumia. He came here and we took him around and he wanted to see the touch screen and he's asking me, so where do you stand? I said, I stand here and my producer is here or the sports person is here. We went round to the chair and all of that. And we told him that we want to do the interview here. He had such a wonderful time. We told him that it's in this studio that people talk about you. We put a small promo on social media. Some of you have seen it. Some of you have not seen it. This is the promo ahead of the interview, which we are showing to you now.
And so I made it very clear that, to win this election, first of all, we have to unite our party.
Have you seen the polls? There are 2 or 3 polls I'm going to tell you what they say. So there's one by the Progressive Institute that has you at 51 point something percent, John Mahama 45 or so.
Right.
And there's another one by Kumasi Technical University that has you at 49.1, John Mahama has 47.
Right.
And then recently Benefson has you at 52 point something. And then there's Global Info Analytics, Musa Dankwa has you at 41%, John Mahama at 52. Should these polls mean anything to a major presidential candidate like you 2 days to the election? Onyame wohoda se ujinudia obeya mawoda eya wawe juma no ye o nyame wohoda se ujinudia obeya mawoda eya wawe juma no ye o nyame wohoda se ujinudia obeya mawoda awawe juma no ye o. I'm thanking God for the successful launch of the book. Oh, I beg you. I'm thanking God for the successful launch of the book. Please don't interpret it's for the successful launch of the book. We thank God. Let's do it again. Eya wawe juma no ye o nyami wohoda se ujinudia obeya mawoda. Please, how to vote. You look at the campaign. Think of anybody who has conducted a negative campaign. Don't vote for him. In your parliamentary constituency, the one who has been doing negative campaign, insulting people, attacking people tribally, attacking this, attacking that. Don't vote for him. We are all human. So maybe somebody may have said something. If he apologized, don't use it against him. You see, we are all human. We can all make mistakes. So maybe somebody said something. If he said it and he says, I withdraw, it's fine. Because it can happen to anyone. But those who say something and they are proud of it, watch this man, this young man, watch him. You know, when I said play the tape, my producers have plenty negative, so they are wondering which one. I will leave it for them to choose. If somebody says something very negative in this campaign, he comes to withdraw it. It's okay. But those who say negative things in a campaign, that destroys the Ghanaian fiber, socio-cultural fiber. It destroys it. Please don't vote for them. Mumin, are they ready? Okay, play this one. So we are making a choice. Which one is negative? They are doing it. I don't want to tell them which they should make their own decision. They'll make a good decision. Awawa Juma no ye o nyame woda se wujinu dia obeya mawoda eya wawe juma no ye ho nyame woda se wujinu dia obeya mawoda. So I was saying, those who do negative campaign, don't vote for them. Don't. Vote for those who do positive campaign. Those who don't insult their opponents, abuse their opponents. Those who come and tell you what I will do for you. That's what it is. But as I said, we're human. If somebody says something in the heat of the campaign and he says, I've withdrawn it. It's fine. Let's leave it. But have a look at this one. Look at this.
And now, TV chemo, you pay that one, so I quite another breeze so down. You real assassins will be good with Monopono. Still, what company my MPP? See, I can't be a Jimmy and now, Jimmy. Sebi ye wo bakwasia sunyini sede ba nyansafo nyini be penyinya nyansafo no sana bakwasia sunyini enakwa TV chemu a ye pagya one so akwa WC so agya wonan no ye wi asase so obegu hwi chemu no mpo no still wo company ma MPP se aka che obi agimi anya akwa na agimi o sebi ye wo bakwasia sunyini sede ba nyansafo nyini be penyinya nyansafo.
And he's talking about, there's a man in Ghana that President Akufo-Addo has a way of describing him. And I've really admired President Akufo-Addo for describing this man like that. He calls him, quote, that very distinguished Ghanaian, unquote. That's how Akufo-Addo describes John Agyekum Kufuor. That very distinguished Ghanaian. Everywhere Akufo-Addo speaks, and I've been listening to him abroad, he's speaking in the United Nations General Assembly in New York, he's in London, he's everywhere. He has to refer to Kufuor. This is what he always says. If he's talking to people, ladies and gentlemen, I refer to that very distinguished Ghanaian, our former president, John Agyekum Kufuor. This is how Akufo-Addo refers to him, that very distinguished Ghanaian. Listen to what this young man is saying about Kufuor. Please play that again. Listen.
Sana bakwasia sunyini. Enakwa TV chemu a ye pagya one so akwa WC so agya wonan no ye wi asase so obegu hwi chemu no mpo no still wo company ma MPP se aka che obi agimi anya akwa na agimi o sebi ye wo bakwasia sunyini sede ba nyansafo nyini be penyinya nyansafo no sana bakwasia sunyini
se wujinu dia obeya mawoda awanwe juma no ye o Nyami wohoda se wuji nudia obeya maoda. All right, without much ado, tonight, Dr. Bawumia's interview is 35 minutes long. After that, I have not heard many people communicate politics better than Kwabena Ejapong. Kwabena Ejapong communicates politics better than many people. And he was the first person to take over the castle, President Kufuor's castle, as a presidential spokesperson and give character to that office. I'm not sure what happened since then, but Kwabena Ejapong is still remembered as the presidential spokesperson. Later on, he ran for president. Later on, he was elected the general secretary of the New Patriotic Party. He's been on Mahamudu Bawumia's campaign. Kwabena Ejapong has run for president twice. He's on Mahamudu Bawumia's campaign. Each time he didn't win. In 2008, he was fully on Akufo-Addo's campaign. In 2024, he didn't win. He's fully on Mahamudu Bawumia's campaign. There are not many people who are committed to the New Patriotic Party than Kwabena Ejapong. Tonight, he's our guest after the Bawumia interview. That interview was recorded yesterday. I told you already. I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. It's going to come to you right now, right here, 2 minutes to 10 o'clock on Good Evening Ghana. This is the exclusive interview with the MPP presidential candidates recorded yesterday in the studio with Mahamudu Bawumia. Happy to see you, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia.
Happy to see you, Paul.
Welcome to the studio.
Thank you. This is my first time in your studio.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. We talk about you in this studio a lot.
Well, I'm here now. Thank you.
So we've been looking at your photographs on the campaign, and you seem to be enjoying it. It looks like it's been very hectic, but you have really covered a lot of ground in a very short time. What happened? Were you panicky? Were you afraid that I'm going to lose this election? The kind of ground you've covered, wow, it's phenomenal.
Well, Paul, I think that you have to do what you need to do. But I think after being elected in November last year, this is just about a year ago, we had to figure out how we're going to run this campaign. And it was a campaign that you had to take your message to the people. And so we made a decision that we would go to every constituency and deliver the message and try to convince. Like, after all, the campaign is about convincing people to support you, to vote for you. And so it was a clear plan from the beginning, not driven out of panic, but just the reality on the ground that you are coming in at a position where we had spent a year internally wrangling in terms of the primaries. And so when we came out, we knew that we had a lot of work to do. I mean, I technically am the incumbent as a vice president, and my opponent is a former president. But I have felt that I was the underdog, and I needed to fight like an underdog, and this is how I have run the campaign. Yeah.
Some journalists said that Dr. Bawumia is running a campaign as if he's the opposition against the government. But let's come back into the MPP context.
Yes.
After you were elected as the flag bearer, it was widely predicted, but not many people were sure what will happen to the MPP after they elect the first northern leader, etc., etc.
Yes.
And some people were pensive about the picture that this was going to create. But again, you've done something phenomenal. But at this time, a year after, you've managed to get almost everyone in the MPP at the base, at the top, coming back in. And I'm referring to people who are clearly opponents of your boss and patron Nana Akufo-Addo, who are in the party. I refer to names like Richard Ananienko, who are opponents of Akufo-Addo one way or the other. And all of them coming round your campaign to support what you are doing. And at the constituency level, we always read of fracas that have been resolved and things that have happened. People were going to run independent, then they changed their mind.
Right.
Do you have a desk for unity in your office? How integral is that to your work?
Well, I think that as a person, even within my own family setting, I'm a unifier by nature. You know, I have grown up in a polygamous family, and my father had 19 children, and I get along with everybody. All my brothers and sisters, pretty much, we get along, and I am very conscious of that. And so uniting people, unifying people, dealing with diverse groups of people has always been something that I have always done. And so in the context of our politics, when, I was elected, I knew that, fighting with a divided party was going to be problematic, because the margins in terms of the two parties are always very close. You each have 45, and you have to, look for 10% and from between you. So if you don't have your 45, then you are starting at a big disadvantage. So to give yourself a fighting chance, you have to first unify your party, because we had come through a very bruising primary. And so I made it very clear that, to win this election, first of all, we have to unite our party. And the party elected me, and I think I had made the case that I would be able to unite the party, because I had no issues with anyone, so to speak. So I was able to reach out and speak to everybody to say, come on, I'm building an inclusive tent, and I want everybody to come on board so that we can transform this country. And I was able to reach out. I visited all my opponents after I won. Usually they said that normally they will come and visit you, but I said, no, I'm not waiting for anybody to visit me. I'm going to visit them, and I make the case for them to join me. And so I spoke to everybody who mattered, pretty much, and I said, I need your help. I need your help. I want us to come together. And they were very generous. They were very, very generous, and they came on board. And so we have fought this election as a united force across, pretty much, So it's been very good. I mean, of course, we're 10 who contested. So far, 9 of us are together. So that's not a bad outcome.
I was going to ask questions about the other one, but maybe we'll talk about that another time. Let's get back onto the campaign. I want to ask you about this Youth Connect you started, because it brought attention for the youth in the campaign, and from that period until about recently, the youth had been a big part of the focus. The NDC, your opponent, had after that done a youth manifesto, and so you had drawn attention to the youth quite significantly. Right. But what's going to happen on Saturday, Dr. Bawumia, is that we are going to the polls to go and buy a candidate, not with money, but with our conscience, with our thinking, with our mind, with our soul. When we are buying Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, what quantity, what quality will we be buying if we are urged to buy Mahamudu Bawumia?
Well, you're going to be looking to vote for somebody with integrity. That is very, very important to me as a person, that you work with integrity. You're going to buy someone with compassion. I am very caring as a person. As I say, I have the heart to care about people, whether you are a leper, whether you are disabled, whether you are a homeless person, whether you are a street child. I care about people's well-being. That's just me. It's just by nature. It's not because I'm in politics. I've always done that. I remember my father once, when I was much younger, saying that, Mahamudu would not be a rich man because he gives away all his things to people. It's not that we're rich or anything, but that is just generally how I've grown up. I've felt like helping people gives me satisfaction. So you'll have someone with compassion. You'll have somebody who works hard. I'm a hard worker. I don't do it in halves. When I am committed to a task, I do it fully committed to working hard to achieve. And I'm a go-getter. I set very, very high goals, as a person, that I want to achieve what, may have not been achieved before. And sometimes people think that, it's not possible. I set these tasks for myself, and I set deadlines, and I say, I want to do this in 6 months. Maybe I'll do it in 12 months, but I get it moving. And so you get somebody who is a go-getter, a hard worker, and I'm very professional in how I approach the things I do. And I'm a team player. I don't think I know it all. I like to listen to diverse opinions. And if you make a good argument, I will change my mind. In fact, when I visited the Pope in the Vatican earlier this year, one of the things I asked of him before we finished the meeting, I said, Your Holiness, you've met all these world leaders, and what advice can you give to me as someone who is aspiring to be a leader? And the advice he gave to me was that I should listen to people before I take decisions, to consider diverse opinions. And I thought that was very, very, very amazing. I mean, it was very, very good. And that's basically me anyway, because I feel like I want to listen to people, look at diverse opinions before I do that. So I think when you're buying, in that sense, a Bawumia presidency, you're buying qualities, as I'm saying, of integrity, of compassion, of high, hard work, of high goals that I'm setting to achieve for this country. And someone who believes this country can really be much better than we are, that believes in the possibilities of transformation, that we can be a part of the fourth industrial revolution. We can do better than some of the advanced economies have done. I really believe so. And I have that hope that we can create well-meaning jobs for our youth. And so I'm very eager to continue what I have started with Nana Akufo-Addo, and to build upon that, and to bring in many new policies and initiatives. So I think that you will be getting a president, if you vote for me, that is going to lead a major transformation of this country.
Why are those values important to Ghana? Why does Ghana need those values now? People may look at it differently. Why do you think that looking at Ghana, its needs, its strength, weakness, its deficit, they need these qualities that you believe that you exhume? How do you make that connection?
I think that it's not about Ghana needing them now. I think Ghana has always needed them. And any successful institution, any successful organization, any successful country need leaders with values, leaders with integrity, leaders with compassion, with high achieving leaders who set goals, and leaders who believe in possibilities. I think it's something that is sort of a recipe for success. And I believe that if you put in a leader who doesn't have integrity, who is corrupt, you are not going to go far as a country. If you vote in a leader who doesn't have compassion, then in our situation where many people are outside, are marginalized, you are not going to help the country. If you don't have high goals to achieve for this country, how do you transform the country? So I believe that all these various qualities are needed by our country to make that transformation.
Well, you're running this election against former President John Dramani Mahama. Both of you have a record of being vice president, and he has a record of being president as well.
Yes.
Talk of all the qualities that you talked about for yourself, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia.
Yes.
There's a concern, and I have to say that your government, you and Nana Akufo-Addo's government, is a two-term government, but whose quote-unquote sins are being evaluated really in the second term. In these circumstances, to the undecided voter, he's seen your qualities, he's excited by it, he's just 18 years old. He likes your vibe, as they say.
Yes.
What should he do?
Yes, I'm glad you've asked this particular question, because I think so much has been said about it, and it may be very misunderstood in many ways. I keep saying, when you get to the economy, In terms of GDP growth, we've performed better. In terms of agricultural growth, we've performed better than him. In terms of industry growth, we've performed better. In terms of the trade balance, we've performed better. In terms of the current account, we've performed better. In terms of the fiscal deficit, we've performed better. In terms of the primary balance, we've performed better. In terms of gross international reserves, we've performed better. Most of the economic indicators. And we've created more jobs, 2.6 million jobs. So what matters in terms of the data? If you read the data, we have done better. That is just on the economic data, right? You get into infrastructure, roads, we've done more roads, more hospitals, more schools, more courts, more pretty much everything.
So you're saying that if we put the two choices together based on achievements,
night and day,
there should be no comparison.
There is no comparison. Paul, there is no comparison. And this is why I wished he had come for a debate. He ran away from a debate because he knows, or his people should know, that he would have failed miserably.
At the debate?
Oh, completely, because he will be confronted with data. We don't debate in a vacuum. You just can't go and say a yazoo and say something and walk away. I mean, you'll be pinned down to facts, right? I would have, debated him on the facts.
Let me come to infrastructure development. And recently, I don't know whether you've been looking at social media, but they say that Akufo-Addo is commissioning, Mahmoud Bawumia is campaigning, and John Mahama is complaining. That's what your supporters put on social media.
The 3 C's.
Yes. But here's a question. The people are saying that NPP know that they are about to lose the election, so every day they are commissioning. And the NPP is saying that these projects have been going on in terms of its thinking stages and all for years.
Yes.
You have also been doing some commissions. Are these commissions intended to rescue the party's fortunes?
Well, I think that, Paul, if you look at what we have done, and we, in my office, I must say, started the process of tracking our projects. First with the delivery tracker, and then we upgraded it earlier this year, which we completed, to the performance tracker, which we put out on the net, and everybody can go and look at the projects that we have in the performance tracker. All of the projects we are commissioning today are in the performance tracker. It's just that looks like many people did not pay attention to them, and so once you complete a project, you commission it, right? And this is what we have been doing. But I am glad that people are paying attention to it, because it just tells you the volume of work that has been done. I think a lot of people are now recognizing, paying attention as you are commissioning these. When we put them in the tracker, some of them were completed, some of them were uncompleted. But people generally tend to pay attention to completed projects because they can use them and so on. But I think that is what we have been able to do. We are commissioning a lot of projects across all the sectors, housing, whether it's talking of courts, whether it's talking about public libraries, whether you're talking about sports facilities, whether you're talking about airports, you're talking about railway, across the sectors. It's beautiful to watch, and it's leaving a very solid legacy for Nana Akufo-Addo, very solid legacy for this country. And I think that history will be very, very kind to him.
Let's be wrap it up, but we can't end this interview without talking about Free SHS.
Yes.
Most of your party people have been pleasantly surprised that Free SHS has come back right into the center of yet another political campaign.
Yes.
It has inured to your benefit, Mahmoud Bawumia, because the believability factor is with you.
Yes.
You have been part of those who have dreamt Free SHS,
yes.
So it's safer in your hands.
Yes.
But looking at it as you go around the country and see the way people appreciate this policy, how are you exploiting it in the campaign to tell people that you can run it and you can make it better? And how do you look at the impact of Free SHS as you are around the country?
Well, Paul, I think this is a major issue for Ghanaians. But generally speaking, we promised Free SHS, I think in 2012 and 2016. And I think one of the key reasons for this was the fact that the data, when you look at economic growth across nations, the data tells you that human capital is one of the key factors to economic growth. And human capital is just basically education and skills. So basically, we said that Ghana, we were in a situation where many of the youth were not getting to senior high school because of problems of payment, right? So today, I mean, we brought free SHS for the last 8 years. We've got millions of people enrolled. When we came into office, for every 100 boys, you had 68 girls. So many girls were out of the loop because parents who could afford to pay were preferring to send the boys to school and not the girls. After 8 years of free SHS, we have, for every 106 girls now, you have 100 boys.
More girls?
More girls.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so today, this is why in places like Accra, you cannot find housemates.
Yes.
The parents have come and taken them to school. We have brought in free TVET as well and all of that. But one of the good things about is that the performance of the students in the WASSCE exams has really improved. The pass rate of 64% last year, the highest ever in the WASSCE exams. And now if you look at the quality of education, in Africa, 54 countries, Ghana is number 2 in the whole of Africa.
But that's important data.
Yes, the whole of Africa, Ghana is number 2 in Africa. Tunisia is number 1. Ghana is number 2.
So Ghana is ahead of South Africa.
It's ahead of
Nigeria.
Yes, all of them.
Kenya,
all of them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we are number 2 in Africa. So a lot of people thought that with free SHS will reduce quality because we are expanding access, right? So that what goes, when we expand access, quality will come down. But we've defied gravity and we have improved quality. And we are now number 2 in Africa in that context. So what you are seeing is that Ghanaians have, a lot of people have gone into senior high school. And in fact, in the poorer societies, the highest enrollments we are seeing are from the northern regions of the country. 95%, movement from the basic to senior high school. That's high. That's very high. So you're seeing that the poorer societies, and when I met, as I was going around the campaign, one woman said to me, Phoebe will crutches. Right? So,
every house has an educated young man. Yeah.
So that is the thing. So Ghanaians really hold free SHS, very closely. It's one of the most important, if not the most important social intervention in the history of this country, because you are providing people with educational opportunity. So that closes the gap between the rich and the poor. It gives everybody the opportunity to go higher and achieve their potential in life. And so nobody wants to play with free SHS. And Mohammed's previous comments on free SHS, which were that, it was a desperate promise, and if he had the money, 2 billion cedis, he would not spend it on free SHS. He made those categoric statements, and that means that it's not someone we can trust with free SHS. He didn't believe in it, just as he didn't believe when he canceled the teacher training allowances, when he canceled the nursing training allowances, without a crisis of the nature we face. We faced COVID, we faced Ukraine, we had a terrible crisis globally. We didn't cancel teacher training allowance. We didn't cancel nursing training allowance, because we felt that those were very key. We didn't cancel free SHS or anything like that. So free SHS is something that has come back to play politically because of the views that were expressed by former President Mahama and his party. They said that it was a 419. They even ran adverts against free SHS and went to the Supreme Court to challenge free SHS. That is the reality. Those are the facts. So can you trust? This is the question Ghanaians are asking. Can you trust free SHS in the hands of people who never believed in it in the first place, who suddenly believe after basically rubbishing it and saying it wasn't going to be possible and it was 419, suddenly claim that they were the ones who introduced it in the first place. This doesn't even pass the laugh test. They don't have credibility. Free SHS is our baby.
Are you exploiting it? So are you over-exploiting it? Because sometimes you go on Facebook, they say, MPP people, if you ask them anything, free SHS. You ask them about economy, free SHS. You ask them,
I think that we have, frankly, many more achievements than free SHS. We've done free SHS, yes. We've done free TVET.
Which is significant.
Yes, we've invested more in TVET, 6 billion Ghana cedis in the last 7 years than any government.
Gives people skills.
Gives people skills.
And it's free.
And it's free. And the world now, the world of work now, is a world of skills. You know, so just having a certificate that you've finished school and you don't have skills can be challenging when you enter the world of work. And this is why we are opening free SHS. We have equipped state-of-the-art equipment to 34 MVTIs, you know, National Vocational and Technical Institutes, across the country, state-of-the-art. And we're doing that. You know, if you come to healthcare, we have invested a lot in healthcare. You know, huge, built many hospitals. We're doing Agenda 111. We brought one constituency, one ambulance. We brought drones, brought e-pharmacy, e-health, and major transformation taking place in the health sector. You know, you get to digitalization, and we've done so much in that area. The Ghana card, the digital address, mobile money interoperability. Paul, Ghana is the only country in Africa with complete domestic payments interoperability. No, we are 100%, you know, access to financial inclusion. We are the only country. Can you believe that? In the whole of Africa. We are changing our financial system. We have recently brought in credit scoring, which is going to transform Ghana. You know, really going to be very transformational. Allow people access to credit. We are moving, you know, towards electric vehicles in public transportation, bringing down the cost by 50%. God willing, I'll bring in solar power and bring down the cost of electricity by another 50%. So we're doing so much. It's not just free.
Cost of electricity for who?
For houses and businesses.
By 50%?
Yes.
That was significant.
Huge. You know, that is when I said we'll bring down the cost of transport by 50%. People, when I said 40%, but when the buses arrived, we realized we could come down by 50%. So
is at 50 now?
Yes.
For those on the electric bus?
Yes. For those today, yeah. For those running from
Accra to
Adenta to Accra is 50% less. From Ashaiman to Accra is 50% less.
Today, as we speak.
As we speak.
Oh wow! Congratulations.
Yes, because you know you don't need fuel.
Yeah, you don't.
You don't need other spare parts.
So we just need to have more of the buses,
which is what we are going to do.
Yeah.
And public transportation will be transformed in this country. It's the same thing that we've done for the pre-mixed fuel. We are bringing in solar-powered outboard
I've seen
motors.
those videos.
Yes, and we are going to get rid of pre-mixed fuel and bring down the cost for the fisher folks significantly.
That's so visionary.
You know, so we are moving into a different dimension of this economy. And so it's not just free SHS. Free SHS is one part, but we are doing major structural reforms in this country.
Let's conclude by asking you the questions that politicians don't want to be asked. Have you seen the polls? There are 2 or 3 polls I'm going to tell you what they say. So there's one by the Institute, Progressive Institute, that has you at 51 point something percent, John Mahama 45 or so.
Right.
And there's another one by Kumasi Technical University that has you at 49.1, John Mahama 47.
Right.
And then recently Benefson has you at 52 point something. And then there's Global Info Analytics, Musa Dankwa has you at 41%, John Mahama 52. Should these polls mean anything to a major presidential candidate like you 2 days to the election?
Well, at the end of the day, polls are a statement at a point in time that people make findings of. For me, I'm more interested in the final poll, which is what is going to happen on December 7th. And of course, you know, I keep saying to my folks, and we do internal polls as well, that when you get into a constituency, you know what the ground feels like. It's not a poll that is going to tell you whether you are winning this constituency or not.
You can feel it.
You know how when you react, you talk to people and their reactions to you when they see you, when you discuss issues with them, how they respond and all of that. It gives you a better sense of what is happening. I mean, 3 of the polls that you've mentioned put me in the lead to win the election. I believe I'm going to win this election, frankly, because of what I see on the ground and our own internal polling. But we are not taking anything for granted. We are not going to be complacent. We have 2 days to go, and we will get to the real poll. By midnight, I believe, on Saturday, the real polls will come out. We will see.
Is that not too early? People have been suspicious when NPP say by midnight on Saturday.
Well, I'm just saying we will know. But the EC will not formally announce, clearly. Yes. But in 2020, I mean, we got to know
by midnight on Saturday.
By midnight on Saturday, we will know. In 2020, maybe it was 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. that we knew where we were. But I think that by midnight on Saturday, God willing, we will know where, and then some pollsters will run and hide. I tell you, some pollsters
will run and hide.
Oh yes. I wouldn't mention their names.
A very final question to you, yes. Vice President.
Yes.
Has there been anything about this campaign process, electoral commission's work, everything that you have not been happy with?
Well, I think that, quite frankly, the processes have been very transparent. I want to congratulate the Electoral Commission and also IPAC, which has all the parties involved. I think that the transparency, I think you see at one point, for example, the NDC complained about illegal transfer of votes. And so IPAC was convened. And thankfully, and I congratulate Mrs. Jean Mensah for this, she's been very transparent. She said, let's have a televised hearing of this particular issue. Now, we all listened to what they came to the table with, and there was zero evidence presented to support their case. I mean, zero. I mean, they just wasted our time. But at least it showed that the process was transparent. You know, so for me, so far, there's been a lot of transparency in the process. I'm happy with what has gone on so far. We will hope that that will continue through Saturday, and we will have a peaceful election. We need to have a peaceful election, and that is what we need to do. And everybody who is on the register should be allowed to vote. There should be no intimidation. There should be no attempts to introduce violence or confiscate, seize ballot boxes and that sort of thing. Let's have a civil, a Ghanaian election that we can all be proud of. Yes.
That's very, very interesting. So where would you be voting?
Wale Wale.
In Wale Wale, yes, on Saturday?
On Saturday,
and you are voting number 1, right?
Number 1, of course. There's no other, I can't see any other position on that ballot paper.
Just see number 1.
Yes, yes.
What's about me? You have done great.
Thank you, Paul.
You have changed the campaign.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Hopefully everything you've done will matter.
Amen. Thank you very much. God bless you.
God bless you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Happy to see you, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia.
Happy to see you, Paul.
Welcome to the studio.
Thank you. This is my first time in your studio.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. We talk about you in this studio a lot.
Well, I'm here now. Thank you.
So we've been looking at your photographs on the campaign, and you seem to be enjoying it. It looks like it's been very hectic, but you have really covered a lot of ground in a very short time. What happened? Were you panicky? Were you afraid that I'm going to lose this election? But the kind of ground you've covered, wow, it's phenomenal.
Well, Paul, I think that you have to do what you need to do. But I think after being elected in November last year, this is just about a year ago, we had to figure out how we're going to run this campaign, deliver the message, and try to convinced. Like, after all, the campaign is about convincing people to support you, to vote for you. And so it was a clear, the incumbent as a vice president, and, you know, my opponent is a former president, but I have felt that I was the underdog. And I needed to fight like an underdog. And this is how I have run.
Many people were sure what will happen to the MPP after they elect the first Northern. Welcome back to the show, and Kwabena Ejapong is here. Kalahari, we call him. How was Legon?
Oh, it was good. I mean, it's the culmination of months of hard work. I mean, Dr. Bawumia has displayed the real meaning of dedication, hard work, and focus. The amount of energy he has put into this campaign, boots on the ground in all the 276 constituencies. I don't think any politician has done that. And
you don't think President Mahama has done that in this campaign?
In this campaign?
276
I don't think he's done even 150 constituencies. You know,
he didn't do 150.
Well,
I'm sure every presidential candidate will go everywhere.
No. We've been monitoring him, and I don't think he has done half what the places that Dr. Bawumia did. You know, I think they took it for granted. They thought that this 8-year cycle,
they'll win.
They'll fly on the wings of the difficulties that we saw in 2021 and 2022, and thought they wouldn't work. After all, he had a lead time of 8 months, you know. Dr. Bawumia was elected November 4th last year, put together his campaign team, put together his manifesto team, set about the first round of movement to the 16 regional capitals, organized meetings with stakeholders, chiefs, Islamic clerics, Christian clerics.
I'll come back to that because you've been part of campaigns since 92.
That's right, yes.
Yeah, but maybe 2000 was when you were really leading. Aspects of it. 92, 96, 2000, especially 2004. I'll come to that. Let me, the point is here, so that you wait. Kwabena will be speaking. Who should I start with, please? Ella, what are people saying?
So a lot of people are already excited about Kwabena being in the studio. This one from Maxwell. He says, Kwabena Ejapong, God bless you for helping Bawumia throughout this particular campaign. Pressure says, Mr. Vice President, please do not talk too much. Volta region is behind you. We shall surely show NDC Pepe. It is possible under number 1. Vote number 1. We are definitely in a comfortable lead. And at the end, the NDC will definitely be defeated. Also from Opoku, he says, it is finished. Victory is nearer than ever. DMB is a Muslim and will be the next president of this country. Those who cannot stay in this country and have a Muslim president can relocate to Qatar or Dubai. Maybe those places have popes and archbishops as their leaders. Right? I think this is in relation to the conversations about other people being, saying things about his religious background. This one is from Emmanuel Owusu. He says, Lord, please hear your children's prayers and have this smart and intelligent man lead us in the 21st century. And this one is from Gideon. He says, we are very much maintaining good governance under Dr. Bawumia. In spite of the challenges, NPP is still a better option as compared to the NDC. It is not really about disdain for the NDC, which I believe some fanatics have, but rather the poor leadership under them and how bad things were the years that they were in leadership. Andrew Zopong says, Ghana cannot afford to miss your presidency, so intelligent, smart, and humble, brave as well. We love you, Dr. Baumia. Lastly, from Nana Ado, he says, man of intelligence, man of wisdom, man of knowledge, above all, man of integrity. God raised you secretly to become Ghana's president one day. This is your time, Dr. Baumia. God has already ordained you. It is possible. All right. Antoinette, what do you have for us?
All right, so it seems we have quite a number of DNB proponents. Bismarck Amache Boatin says, Dr. Baumia has marketed his policies and the NDC has spent much of their time complaining. The difference is very clear. No more time for loose talks. And people seem also very excited having Dr. Kwabena Agyapong in the studio. In the likes of New Quartet Sheriff, who says, Kwabena Agyapong, you're really a field marshal of political campaign. Wilberforce Kwadwo says, the dribbler himself, Kwabena Agyapong, is on the seat. It is true that indeed we have the men. Konedu Edise says, Dr. Baumia has really displayed the real meaning of commitment, focus, and hard work. I salute you, sir. Baumia will talk and it's full of ideas. Mahama will talk and it seems to be full of insults and comedy. Papa Ansa seems to be campaigning for DNB. He says, an excellent student always sees himself on the top and wouldn't bother looking from bottom to find his position. As we go to vote, kindly vote like an excellent student. Maxwell Entry says, Kwabena Agyapong, God bless you so much for helping Dr. Baumia all throughout the campaign. And Arafat Sapaka lastly says, Kwabena Agyapong's sense of patriotism is actually very motivating.
All right. So more admiration for Mr. Kwabena Agyapong. Kwame Sapon says, Kwabena, I love you so much. Whatever happens in this election, you are the man of the year. God bless you abundantly. Fadila says, please tell Kwabena Agyapong to come and visit UG Tescon. We really need him to give us education on the core values of the NPP as well as the history of the party. We really admire him. Now, Mami Konedu goes on to say, Dr. Baumia has really displayed the real meaning of commitment and hard work. Charles P. Ewa says, Paul, this man has a very good heart for Ghanaians. Let's give him a chance. He's a man full of ideas and innovative. Patrick Animals says, in fact, Dr. Baumia has really done a successful campaign, and by the grace of God, he's going to be the next president. Mami Konedu goes on to say, Ghana for votes #1 for Dr. Baumia as president and the NPP parliamentarian candidate in your constituencies to ensure smooth and successful implementation of the bold solutions for the future. M. Kojo says, NPP inherited a very bad economy after the difficult period of working to revive Ghana's economy. Ghanaians, we seem to have forgotten because we were hit by COVID. So with bad memory, majority are going to mess themselves with Mahama. Please think twice before you vote. And lastly, Dashtinkon says, there has been a write-up from BBC Africa saying they invited our candidate, Dr. Baumia, for an interview after their interview with Mahama, and he refused. I now understand why he couldn't make it. It was because he was with our seasoned journalist, Paul Adom. Now back to you, Paul.
Well, yeah, back to you.
Wow. Okay. There's a document that's just been sent to me. Interception of 3 booklets of dummy ballot papers en route to Togo. And it's been confirmed by the immigration that is correct. I'm sending it across so we can put on TV for everyone to see. It's a statement issued by the Ghana Immigration Service. Yes. All right. So please tell Kuku that I've sent him a text. He should organize it and put it on the screen. When it's ready, he should let me know. Yes. Back to Kwabena Agyapong. People are already excited that you are here. Comparing this today's concluding rally to what you know, what gives you hope?
The energy that he's brought back to the party. I mean, of course, when you've been in office for 8 years, there's always some level of apathy. But again, from your own interview with Dr. Baumia, he was someone who did not insert himself into the primaries. Anytime MPP has good parliamentary primaries, we are likely to win.
What is good parliamentary primaries?
When the friction is reduced, when there's not much interference by the top tickets, you know, because the party...
When they don't insist on this candidate must be here, that candidate must be here.
That's right.
Or it was left.
I think he did that very well. After, and he said it. I mean, it was a very tough presidential primary, and we were all part of it. After that, he rallied everybody together. And he did so very well, visiting each and every one of us.
Did he come to your house?
Yes, yes. I mean, he spoke to me. We discussed a lot. He went to everybody. It's completely the reverse of what we are used to, because normally we, the defeated ones, we line up and go to, say, Nima or Professor Dubois' house to go and congratulate him. But Bawumia, you know, very humble, good interpersonal skills. He was able to win over much everybody. So all the 9 candidates playing different roles to support his campaign. And so he's one leader who has been able to weld this party together. He's like a glue for the New Patriotic Party, and it's good for us. Of course, there were a few touchy areas in the parliamentary primaries. You have to expect that. That's why 1 or 2 independents here and there. But by and large, it went off very well. And when it happens that way, we are confident that we are winning the parliamentary majority. You know, but I marvel at the way he's run the campaign, the energy he's given to it, the vitality, the strength, and then the style, you know, the detail, what he called retail campaigning. You know, as you said, meeting the youth in the Youth Connects, going to the markets, bumping into people's homes, surprising them. And if you're in a village and the vice president runs into you and has a discussion with you, that must be a wonderful experience. And you see all those pictures with those school children, you know, he's endeared himself to the Ghanaian people. And it comes naturally. I mean, you look at his background, very empathetic character. He's someone who understands people, who cares for people, who shares people and loves people. And that is him. And that's what attracts me to him so much, because our values really align. You know, he's a very selfless man, not given to materialism, you know, and he's focused on what he's doing. Very determined person, because we were doing 3 constituencies, sometimes 4 constituencies in a day. And he's speaking about 5, 6 times. Sometimes his voice is gone. His vocal cords are strained, but by the next morning...
Where did you guys sleep? When you made some of your rallies at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., what happens?
You sleep where you have to sleep. I mean, you plan. You know,
so you know that you'll be here at 1 a.m. Sometimes you don't know. You just...
No, the timing you will never know. But most of the time when we are doing constituency campaigns, you end up very late because people don't get energized in the morning.
Yeah.
So you get off around 10:30, 11. By the time you finish one constituency, it's about 2. You go to the second constituency.
You're already at 7.
At 7. And so sometimes you are starting a constituency at 9. Yeah, so it happens that way. But it's always better in the night. It's cooler.
You have the attention.
You have the attention of the people. You have more participation because the sun is not really beating them up, you know. But he went about it in such a marvelous way. And he delivered a message that touched various segments of society. So wherever he met people, whether they were farmers or Okada riders or nurses or teachers, chiefs, Muslims, Christians, everybody, he had something in there for them. All segments of society. And I think that has worked very well. The middle class believe that. They can look at his message, sometimes analyze it, agree with some, disagree with some, but with his opponent, you can hardly identify any strand of messaging.
He has 24-hour economy.
Well, which he couldn't explain to the BBC yesterday.
Oh, he couldn't? I've heard about the BBC. What did he say?
You haven't seen the interview?
I've heard about it.
But anyway, I think
But he was able to explain to a radio station.
There's a big sea of difference in the way Bawumia has run his campaign. And as they say now, the 3 C's. You know, he is complaining.
Akufo-Addo is commissioning.
It's commissioning.
Bawumia is campaigning.
It's campaigning. So everybody's seeing the hard. I mean, I believe the work ethic. He's an example for Ghanaians, for everyone. I think every young person should look at Dr. Bawumia's lifestyle. The work ethic, you know, is important. And that's what is going to drive this country to a new level. He's determined to work. He's a hard worker. He doesn't get tired and he's determined. You know, and I think it energizes the party people. And now that we have our party base enthusiastic and fired up, most likely we win because we have the numbers.
That's coming to that question. And the polls that came here last Tuesday, he was telling me that when they conducted polls in November in Ashanti region, they found that only 50% of Ashanti people wanted to turn up to vote. The last polls they did is crossing 70.
That's right.
And it's attributable to the work that people like you went back to Ashanti to do.
Yeah,
What is the latest? You are coming from there. When were you there?
Yeah, I spent the last week there to also
Yes.
just...
So what is the latest? How are the Ashanti people responding?
I think they are responding well to the messaging. Of course, you see, it's only natural that because they give us the biggest vote, some people think that
you demand
they should
a lot.
have a commensurate
development.
That's right.
quotient.
But when you're running a country, then Dr. Bawumia always talks about broad-based development, equitable development. I quite remember with President Kufuor when he was doing the whole roads, and I was taking a look at him and say, "You're not getting much of a vote. We need to go and do the roads where he says, Kwabena, you are a president, you are a father for all. You are a father for all parts of our country." And even when I told Dr. Bawumia that, look, I think 111 hospitals was spreading ourselves too thin.
The Agenda 111.
That's right. He believes, and I believe, that this country, development should be equitable.
Across.
You go to parts of the country, Paul, and you see a Ghanaian, your brother, and some of them don't even have a shirt.
But a lot of that has changed, you know.
Yes, yes. So
Kenyanse is piping. We don't have full places. They have mobile money interoperability. They don't need to come to Accra. There's a lot of development that's gone across the country. Very different from, if you look at your campaign of 96, the things you saw, you go back to some of those places since 2017.
I mean, quite recently, when we were traveling from Ketekrachi, and I know Ketekrachi even in 2020.
Yes.
Yes. And now the town roads are nicely paved. You drive through Borai, Chindiri, ride through Pandai, Wulensi, Bimbila, Chamba. It's all tarred, beautiful road. And I quite remember in 1998 traveling with then candidate Akufo-Addo. It was hell from Salaga to Pao. It was hell, you know. And some of the places you get there and the car gets there, everybody runs away because they haven't seen a car for maybe a year or so. So, and these are all Ghanaians, our brothers and sisters. So I think it's important the policy of ensuring that the distribution of the national cake is equitable is a good policy. And he believes in having development where no one is left out. So that's a broad brush that Dr. Bawumia is using. And I think that so far, the emphasis has been on policies that touch everyone. And that's why this free SHS, we may sit in Accra and take it for granted. You go out there, the chiefs, because apparently when school opens,
the chiefs' palace,
they are in trouble.
They're all crying over there.
The churches, the imams, you know. So
the MPs.
They were giving testimony now that they've had such a sense of relief for the last 6-7 years.
The government has taken the bill.
Taking the bill. You understand? And then there were many places. I went to Dobron, so we were talking to a man. He says that he has not had a family member in college. He used the word college. I haven't heard that for a long time.
College refers to secondary school.
Secondary school.
He's an old man.
He's an old man. He said, we'll be out to college, we'll be free. But now we have 7. We have 7. And so, as Dr. Bawumia put it, in Chibia, there will be a Krachi everywhere. Yes. And that is what we need to develop. If you look at the well-developed countries, it is tied to literacy. It's important that when people have been to school at that level, they have more value for themselves. They know they may have an opportunity for the future.
And they're prepared to learn more.
They're prepared to learn more.
And they see the benefits of education.
So truancy and all the kind of social vices, it decreases in society. So it may be not now that we'll see the full benefits of this visionary policy. I think that in 10 years' time...
But there's something that the advancement boys don't like about free SHS. Since free SHS occurred, new schools have been topping the exam. Several new schools are beating Presec. St. James is whipping Presec. There's a new school called Wesley Girls in Manfi.
Oh, the Manfi one. They are very good. They won the robotics.
People got posted there 4 years ago. They were crying.
Yeah.
Today, they get posted there. They say, oh, yeah, because a woman told me that her daughter went to Manfi. She wanted to go to Holy Child. She didn't know anybody. The policeman placed her there. She cried. She went to the school. She's part of the robotics people. So her second daughter, she wants her to go to Manfi.
I mean, it's important.
Manfi, Methodist girls.
It's important that we spread efficiency of our educational system, because it was only a few what we call the Ivy schools in Ghana. Everybody wanted their child in there. But now, you know, we've democratized education in this country. And you can see people from different backgrounds now going to Mfansipim, going to Presec, Prempeh College, is open to all. And once we do so, we harmonize the society.
Somebody was saying that if the NPP has so many achievements, why are they worried? Why does it look like it's a close election? From what NPP is saying, they should win 2 million votes.
Paul, but you know from the political history in this country, there are two strands of politics. The NPP from the UP stock. The NDC has taken over the CPP stock. That is what it is. And
so there will always be people who will be on the left.
Of course. I mean, and there are two strong segments. So you see the NDC, even when they are doing their worst, they are 43, 44. The MPP, 47, 48, 49. So these are strong parties. And
entrenched.
Strong parties. And I said that in 2015 as General Secretary when I delivered my solidarity message to the party Congress in Kumasi, the NDC party, that these two parties for the foreseeable future are the ones going to run the country. We were in opposition then, and I said to them, the way we treat ourselves, the way we handle affairs, the way we communicate will send a signal to the Ghanaian people. We should stop what I call slash and burn, destroy the character of people, that kind of acerbic talk that dominates politics these days, which is something that we have to work to change in our society. Politics is not a dirty game. There are a few dirty ones who make it dirty. I think politics is about service. And that's why I believe Dr. Bawumia is such a wonderful fit for this country because of his exceptional personal integrity, exceptional personal skills. He's a unifier. The way he works with Christians, he works with Muslims. He does not discriminate, young and old. He has affection for people with disabilities. He's working with the lepers aid.
I'd like to talk about this Muslim thing that's just come up through some pastor saying something. But listening to you, you give us the impression that Dr. Bawumia has had a very organized campaign. Very organized.
Very meticulous. He's prosecuted a professionally meticulous campaign, right down to the letter. And mind you, he's still vice president.
Yeah,
there are times he has to jump back to Accra and do his vice presidential duties. There are times he has to leave the country, attend to international trips. But he's put it all together, and everything has been planned to the letter, right from February 7 at UPSA, right down to the letter. The few constituencies that we missed because of emergencies, like in Volta region when Buim, Biakoye, and Sao, because there was an emergency, and he had to attend meetings in Accra, the likes of Agogo and Dwabeng. We couldn't do it because there was an emergency. You hear the NDC people say, we spent 16 days in Kumasi. No, Kumasi is not Ashanti. Ashanti has 47 constituencies. And the treatment Dr. Bawumia gave to the constituencies was the same, 3 constituencies a day. So if you want to deal with 47 constituencies, you have to spend 16 days. To cut that to 14, we had to do 4 constituencies on a couple of occasions.
For 2 weeks you were busy in Ashanti?
Yes, in Ashanti.
Going everywhere?
Everywhere, touching every constituency,
The pollsters told us that NPP may have received a significant bump in the polls as a result of the abuse that President Kufuor has suffered at the hands of very irresponsible NDC communicators. Did you hear those things?
I saw it and I was traumatized. Sometimes I wonder what's happening to our politics. The acidic remarks, the kinds of things that people say. It's Ghanaian because of our culture. The person is an elderly person. So first and foremost, you respect your elders. That's how we're taught from our homes and in schools. Much more he becomes president, and a decent one at that. To describe him I feel for the man now. I feel sorry for him.
The guy who was talking.
He's identified. How is he going to walk around the country with this kind of image? His children, his family. Doesn't he have a family, a father who trained him? Is that how to treat an elderly person? Much more a president of our country? This is Ghanaian. We should, there's something that I want to talk about, especially in this our political arena, and in fact, even with the media. And there are some media people, the famous one in America, who sits there and insults everybody. And sometimes I look at him and say, is he Ghanaian? Does he hope to come to Ghana one day? Why do you do that? You can disagree with elders in a respectful way, but not use unprintable words. The kind of description of President Kufuor, our president, my boss, AU, the whole AU.
And his crime is that he's campaigning for MPP. That's it.
I mean, it's shocking.
Who told him to campaign for MPP?
And I didn't hear any condemnation from former President John Mahama.
That was very troubling.
I didn't hear any condemnation. And I know John very well. I mean, he's a much better person than this. So I was expecting him to condemn him, you know. And it's not only him. Other people have said certain things that I expect.
President Mahama made some remarks, but jokingly. He said Akufo-Addo should leave this for he and Bawumia. He said that jokingly. That's how far.
That is a different one. Yeah, but I'm saying that when a statesman, a former president, is insulted by an executive of your party has to stand up and be counted. We can't accept this kind of behavior. When it comes from the MPP, we should condemn it. If it comes from the NDC, same treatment. I believe in propriety. We cannot allow this political space to be populated by misfits. And that is what is driving out the good people from politics. People feel traumatized. They think that the place is too tough and they will be subjected to too many insults. So Ghana is losing out on solid human capital that can help us develop as a country. And we, the political leaders, have to lead by example. And that's why I believe Dr. Bawumia, the way he's conducted his campaign, you know, is a big
There's a
example.
pastor who is not a politician, Reverend Osuansa. He showed up on radio and his video became viral. He was completely outraged. Apparently, he's on some platform with pastors.
Yeah.
And one senior pastor, we know the name, but we are all hesitating not to mention for now, who is associated with President Mahama, which is okay, texted on the platform that they should all preach a message to say that you shouldn't vote for a Muslim.
Well, I mean, they know themselves.
Before then, let me show you Osuansa's rage on television.
Okay.
Please play Reverend Osuansa's first video.
Enra na asofo panyini bi akofa flyer bi e de akoto asofo group bi so na ode two group de so na ya asofo no pass comment na asofo no kase enti kremuni stand dia mon kanchire mo masore mana mo obi anto makremuni era me se me media me wo evidence kremufu a etie me. And so when you speak like this, we are soft penny, to me more than what ubu pa mean to me. But the way you know, I'm going to say the way I have bofra. Go down sorry kakrakano. So why do you create this unity? Papa Sofo, who influence Ukruma pa? But a ferry say o can't say 7 page or so. Sadie na we say one ferry na wo kan ye na fa sofo no bia ye ene kremoni de sadie na papa sofo ye ye no me mo wodi hu ba me ade na wo kan ye no e me ferry maw papa sofo discrimination when we are preaching Christ we don't discriminate. Eti wo de wo betimi atunkrofo fo ba sa statement na wo make ye no papa sofo no flyer no ha to una ade ba 2 page no so what the two so into fi say ye na wo so nyina na obia na believe in your philosophy and your ideology any dia wo akoma kire wo it is a childish decision ayan kwada asem papa so for na you are no ha ba me mo wudin ba minim se wo na wo ye wo de ba 2 page no so. And then you allow people to condemn and to you can influence people in that negative manner. Papa Sofo, Srawa, Ebaya and Kayi could have free so. Nazo so I say one had dinner quetry.
I was he's completely outraged.
Completely, and he's justifiably outraged because at the end of the day, we are a country of Ghanaians first. And we've had 67 years of independence. And we've had leaders upon leaders upon leaders, and all of them have been Christians. I don't think I've heard any Muslim complain about that. They accept them, support them, and serve them. Most of my PA is a Muslim, my best friends are Muslims, whether it's just by accident, but they call me a Walla man because, you know, those are my best friends, you understand? So I don't understand this, you know. I think it's a level of desperation. Of course, it's only natural because Dr. Bawumia, the MPP, has never elected a Northern Muslim as a top ticket. And the NDC has been using this weapon, ethnocentric weapon, for years. I remember very much in 1992, going into the Zongos, rehashing the Buzia aliens compliance.
Yeah, go to your country.
That's right.
If they win, they will sack you to go to your country.
Those were the words. And so the Zongos, some of them were no-go areas. So naturally, they gyrated towards the NDC. And there's been some very dirty ethnocentric politics in this Fourth Republic. Things are improving. And Bawumia won fair and square.
No, President Mahama himself said, please look for that video, that it will never happen. If Bawumia for someday thinks that he can be the leader, it won't happen.
That is the kind of level that they descended into. Because he came out openly and said that.
Yeah, but President Mahama said
he wants to see when the
2020.
time comes, his younger brother,
whether
the MPP will give him a chance. That's how much stereotyping they have been.
Let's listen to President Mahama. What did he say? Play the President Mahama tape again.
Sometimes I feel sad when I see some of our northern brothers running around and also doing this. They will use you and dump you. Ezu, I want to live to see the day. You let anything happen today, and let our brother Bawumia say he's standing for president in MPP. They will never give it to him. I can assure you. When the misfortune hit us, and our father, Professor Mills, passed away, the Constitution said that the vice president should take over. I did. But then we're close to an election. If it was another party, they would have insisted that there should be a Congress. And in that Congress, I would have been contested. And they would have given the leadership to somebody else. But when it happened, the NDC's National Executive Committee called a meeting and said, no, there will be no Congress. We are passing a resolution. John Mahama is the vice president. We are going to support him to lead us into this election. And we went into the election, and God gave victory to us. And so I'm proud to be a member of the NDC because I know it is a party that opens opportunities for all people of Ghana, irrespective of your ethnic affiliation or your religious affiliation.
That's coming from the top.
It's shocking. I mean, I know him personally, and I was shocked at this kind of statement coming from someone who had then risen to become president. It's so ethnocentric to try and pigeonhole the MPP as if we hate Northerners, that we will never vote for a Northern because they come from the North. It shouldn't be coming from John Mahama. It shouldn't. It shouldn't come from any politician. You know, I think that politics based on ethnicity is not a good thing, you know. And I mean,
but
the egg is on his face now.
It's been since November last year.
Yes, on his face now. And I'm happy you've played this for the Ghanaians to know, because he's the one who said the Ghanaians have short memories.
Yes.
Maybe people have forgotten that he said this. And at the end of the day, the party voted 61%, the highest for any first-timer. Dubois didn't get 61 at his first attempt. J. Kufuor didn't get 61 at his first attempt. Certainly not Akufo-Addo on his first attempt.
Oh, I see. I never thought about that.
So this was a historic victory.
Oh, the first attempt. This is the largest vote for an individual coming to the contest for the first time.
First attempt, yes.
I see.
So the party has shown
60%.
61%. And before that, almost 70% with the super delegates. 10 of us.
Yes.
69+%.
On the super delegates.
On the super delegates. So the top of the party supported him almost totally. So it shows our party we are a truly national party, and that we reward you whether you are an Ewe or you are an Nzima, it's because we've seen his appetite for work, we believe in what he stands for, and we believe in his capacity to lead, his clarity of thought, and his deep understanding of where the world is going, and the initiatives that he has led over the last 8 years.
I said Nketia is changing the narrative. And Kurisa, please find me his tape. He says, he goes to Ashanti and tells them that Akufo-Addo doesn't want Ashantis to have the leadership of the party. So when he is going, instead of leaving it for Kwabena Agyapong, Adai Nimo, Alan Kyerematen, he gave it to Bawumia and Nodna. And Ashantis, you are sitting down. They've taken your party from this Johnson Asiedu Nketia, the chairman of the NDC.
Because, you see, he's continuing in the vein of John Mahama. Very tribal, ethnocentric statement. It shouldn't be coming from chairmen of parties or presidents of our country.
No, you look at the history.
I mean, go and tell them something.
A.A. Munufie was their chairman.
Yeah.
Isifu Ali, Alhaji Mama Idris, Obeda Samwa, Kobna, very decent people.
Decent-minded people. So I don't understand the desperation that on the altar of political expediency, you can descend so low and publicly say such a thing. Publicly. And when I say this out there, Siedu goes around saying that I'm attacking you. I have not attacked him. I'm just stating the fact that I expect someone who was a member of the Constituent Assembly.
He was, very much.
And has been part of the brutal PNDC administration that destroyed our industrial base, sold 350 state enterprises in this country, stopped our nightlife. Today, when they talk about 24-hour economy, the curfews killed our nightlife in this country. You understand? And as a chairman now, because you are so desperate for power, you go to Ashanti region and you deliver such a message.
I don't even understand
Why would you do that?
The people voted for him. He said Akufo-Addo brought, when he is leaving, he doesn't want Ashantis to have, because he's an Achim, he doesn't want Ashantis to have it, so he brings an Northerner.
Is this the
As if he forced somebody on the party.
This is not the kind of language we should hear from our elders, the leaders, political leaders. Tribalism should be banished. We need competence, people who have the capacity to serve.
I met a guy today. He was driving his motorbike next to my car. He came to me and beckoned me to roll down. I did. He said, "You are Paul Admo?" I said, "Yes." Wallahi, he said, "Wallahi, tell them that Abedi Pele is a Muslim. He captained the Black Stars for so many years.
Yes.
You are Kotokoman." I said, "Yes." "How old are you?" I was looking at him. He said, "Ibrahim Sunday, is he not a Muslim? What did he do for Asante Kotoko?" How can NDC talk like that?
He lifted the cap in 1970.
I said, "Wow." He said, "Wallahi, if you don't say it on TV today, wallahi, Abedi Pele is a Muslim. He captained the Black Stars." I said, "Wow."
So it's unfortunate that the NDC would do anything for political advantage. And I think it's really something that we should...
Has something changed with that kind of campaign from what you know in the past?
No, they've always done it. As I said to you, from,
but it's not come out like
1992, they will go down.
Rawlings never spoke like that. Mills never spoke like
Rawlings, not exactly. Not exactly.
He did some things?
Some things like that.
But he didn't quite say it.
But this is very open. That's why I was surprised that John will come out openly like this and say that the MPP will never vote for Bawumia because we, the MPP, we don't respect Northerners. How can you say that? It's not, he should never have said that. And now he has been shamed because Dr. Bawumia, a Northerner from Wale, born in Tamale, schooled at Sakasaka Primary, the Sakasaka Showboy, is our presidential
You call him
candidate.
the Wale Adam Smith.
I call him the Sakasaka Showboy.
Let's take some messages from our people and see what people are saying. It's 11 minutes past 11 o'clock, but tomorrow is a holiday. It's Farmers' Day, 1 day to vote in. Electoral Commission will start moving their stuff around. So get ready. By the time you get there at 7 a.m. on Saturday, the ballot will be out. You take it, you vote wisely. Go away, go home, relax. Come around 5 o'clock, get the counting. When your constituency is counted, please put it on your Facebook page. My polling station has just been counted. These are the results. We'll put all together from everybody's Facebook page and we'll have the final results by midnight on Saturday. Who should I start with? Fatih, what are they saying?
Thank you, Paul. A lot of people are already happy about this interview. Tommy Amos says, great submission, Kwabena. Samuel says, with positive high spirits, let us all vote wisely for Bawumia for the great of our nation. Brighter Duasari says Mahama will really live to see the presidency of Dr. Bawumia. Edodo says, I have a deep admiration for KAA. His loyalty is truly unmatched, and it's a rare quality in today's world. I sincerely hope he has the opportunity to become the next chief of staff of our country. May God bless him. From Ponce, please ask Kwabena Agyapong where he'll be voting. I just want to come and shake his hands at the polling station because he's a great man and has done our party so good. Every politician in our great Elephant Party should learn from him. Nelson says, I love Kwabena Agyapong's loyalty and faithfulness. All should learn from him. Benano says, when you have people like the two Agyapongs, Kennedy and Kwabena, heading your political campaign, know that the deal is done. Bawumia means business indeed. And lastly, Charles Osafu says, leadership is more than just a position. It's a privilege that comes with a significant responsibility. When you step into a leadership role, you hold the power to influence the people around you. And that's what Dr. Bawumia has, the passion to lead. Vote number 1. What do you have for us?
So since a lot of people are impressed by General Agyapong's submission today, Charles says, very intelligent submission from the general as always. This one is from Kenny. He says, it is going to be a one-touch victory for Dr. Bawumia and the MPP. No chance for the NDC. John Mahama can never be president of Ghana again because he has already been rejected. This one is from Dankwa. He says, some of us outside the country are heavily rooting for Dr. Bawumia to win. Please give him your votes and he won't disappoint you. Let's all win together and say it is possible. Maxwell Entry says, because NDC doesn't have any policies or message, MPP is lucky that not only do we have Kennedy Agyapong, but also we have Dr. Kennedy, and the NDC's propaganda will not work on him. This one is from Grateful. He says, Kwabena Agyapong, the greatest of them all, very eloquent and affable. I love your submission and great job. Again, Baba Chairman says the NDC has tribal bigotry in their DNA and they cannot be stopped. This one is also from Mohammed. He says, Mr. Paul, good evening. Please get me Boss Man's number. I'll be very excited. He's my boss and I want to meet him at CND. He gave me his number, but I have lost it because I lost my phone and all my contacts. Lastly, from Dash, he says, all these pastors who are against a Muslim leadership travel to Dubai for holidays and even have Muslim friends in their parties they are supporting. So why this emotional hypocrisy? All right, Antoinette, what do you have for us?
Right. So people are actually giving positions to Engineer Kwabena Agyapong for when Dr. Bawumia wins the election. Sani Bansi says, when Bawumia wins, I would want to see this. First of all, I'd like Engineer Kwabena Agyapong to be the Chief of Staff, while Osei Mensah Bonsu becomes the Speaker of Parliament. And he adds, it is indeed possible. Now, Nana Okatachi Kafena is also showing his admiration. He says, Engineer KAA has actually earned my respect. I now agree he loves our party and the country, Ghana. People are calling Mr. Kwabena Agyapong the captain himself. Edward Dugbaja says, he's asking a question. He says, Dr. Kwabena Agyapong, I'd like to ask a question. What actually is Dr. Bawumia's work ethic? He seems to be a failed economy to me, because looking at the economy now, both Akufo-Addo and Timothy Bawumia have no idea about governance and rule of law. It looks like propaganda is what the NDC is all about, but do know that propaganda wouldn't save them now. Paul Yaro is bringing Paul's attention to the fact that the dollar is gradually falling, and this is because Dr. Bawumia is the key to the future. Edusei Akresi says, concerning the story of a Muslim leading Ghana, he says that the NDC pastors must read the Bible well. In Isaiah 45 verse 1, he says, God anointed King Cyrus, who was a Gentile, to set free the Jewish captives to go back to Israel. Israel was the church in the Old Testament, yet it was not a Jew that God used to set them free. In this way, we can see that God can use anybody at any time to accomplish his purposes. Kofi Andrew says, I want to hear this man, Kwabena Agyapong, this whole night, and his brother as well. Oh my God, what a man. Rash Lamin Abubakar, he says, my role model is in the studio. Engineer Kwabena Agyapong, you are still the latest at Haji in town. May Allah continue to guide and guard you. Kwabena Agyapong, so about the comment he made about the NDC's insult, Yakubu Salifu is asking, he says, Kwabena Agyapong, what did the NPP say when its supporters and some of its leading members were also insulting Rawlings, Mills, and even Mahama? You do not have to talk about the NDC's insults at all. And lastly, while people are campaigning for Dr. Bawumia, a lot of people are giving us reasons to not vote for Dr. Bawumia. Carlos Dor says we should not vote for the NPP because he lists a few reasons. He says because Ghana now has e-levy, Ghana has COVID taxes, there are high fuel prices, high inflation of 53% at a point, there's high youth unemployment rate of 15%, there's record reckless government borrowing, there is cruel domestic debt exchange, which is the haircut, record galamsey activities, issues of expired food product distributed to schools, and he lastly asked that the current exchange rate is $1 to 17 Ghana cedi, which is obviously not true. And then lastly, Baba Chairman from Tamale says he calls KAA General Lasimono in the NPP, and he thanks God for having a stalwart like that amongst them. Now back to you, Paul.
They're excited about Kwabena Agyapong's English. We used to cheer the English in Engman House back in the day. You're listening to commentary. Those days, once in a while, Ghana Television would show a live game. And this one was a big one. The Black Stars were in Bolcom, the disaster. And we're hearing commentary from Moses Fuamoni and Kwabena Agyapong. And the Black Stars made a substitution. I think that created a problem. Frimpong Manson something. Kwabena Agyapong said, that's a horrendous substitution. We're 17. We said, hey, did you hear what Kwabena Agyapong said? Horrendous substitution. Then one Sunday afternoon, we were watching football. This was about 94, 95. We were in sixth form. Kotoko were playing Hearts in that 4-2 game. Yeah. And it was the FA Cup final or something like that. Yeah. Brahim Sunday was Kotoko's coach. That is the Kwachu was playing. And then the television took the shot of the Kotoko bench at the beginning, just about 3-4 minutes into the game. Ibrahim Sunday was Kwabena Agyapong was running commentary. He said, that's Ibrahim Sunday. Hopefully, he is not underestimating the enormity of the task confronting Kotoko today. We say, yeah, the enormity of the task confronting Kotoko. Wow! That's simple. So Kwabena Agyapong's English there, Charlie, it's been there forever. And one day I asked you this question, and you said, you talked about being library prefect, but you said your father from the beginning will tell you to read this newspaper, do that, you know. So
and he was a teacher.
When we in Joy FM, we used to argue. And one day I called you and I won the debate, whether you are an engineer or you're a lawyer. And I told them that I know Kwabena Agyapong. He's an engineer. Commando said, no, he's a lawyer. I said, no. So I called you.
I remember.
And I said, please, speak. Are you a lawyer or an engineer?
Oh, you're making me feel old.
So as for the English is becoming, the National Immigration have published a story that we need to look at right now. And it's disturbing, but we need to show it to you. Please put it on the screen and we'll read it. It is entitled Interception of 3 Booklets of Dummy Ballot Papers en route to Togo. Okay, so let's read it. It says, at exactly 12:45 hours this afternoon, upon an intelligence from immigration officers deployed to heavy, unapproved routes, the monitoring team who were on their routine monitoring exercise in the Akachi North District intercepted 3 booklets of dummy ballot papers containing 1,000 dummy ballot papers each at Heavy, an unapproved route at the Heavy Enclave, en route to Vodome, Togo. The suspect, Honorable Abraham Ahiabu, who is the current NDC constituency secretary of Akachi North constituency, upon interrogation, claimed he was on his way to Vodome in Togo to educate voters on how to vote using dummy ballot papers. The voters are in Togo. He was going to tell them how to vote in Togo. The vote is in Ghana. The guy said he was going to teach them how to vote. They are in Togo. He's taking ballot papers to them, so maybe tomorrow morning they will come. And then the suspect further claimed that he had 20,000 dummy booklets in custody. The suspect has been handed over to the Ghana Police at Akachi North District Headquarters for further investigations, and the 3 booklets of dummy ballot papers has been handed over to the Akachi North District Electoral Commission to verify the authenticity of the ballot dummy papers. Any further development will be reported accordingly. Please find attached pictures of the dummy ballot papers. Well, that's there. But this is very, very worrying. The suspect is called Honorable Abraham Ahiabu. He is the constituency secretary of the NDC in Akachi North. How do you relate to this?
I think it's important to recall what Dr. Afarijan said. Elections are won or lost at the polling station. It calls for vigilance. There are 2 things. There may be 2 shades. If it's a dummy ballot paper, it could be it is the ballot paper that the parties use to educate voters.
20,000 of them?
That's another matter.
Okay.
That's why I'm just trying to give you the various options.
Okay.
But the second thing is, then why is he going to Togo? You should be educating those.
Well, they come over to vote. They may be Ghanaians, but they are living in Togo.
No.
That's possible.
That has been a problem in the past. And that's why sometimes we ask the Togolese government to seal the border.
But there may be Ghanaians who are working there.
You have to come in before the election.
Yeah, they'll come on election morning.
No, you can't do that. The border should be... Normally, we ask the Togolese to close the border. I don't know whether the National Security Minister has done that. By now, it should be the border...
But if people want to come on Saturday to vote?
Look, Ghana, that border is one people live here, come across here. So it's a very leaky border. I've been there several times. And that's why our people, our agents, have to be very vigilant.
But they may have their name on the voters' roll, but they live in Togo.
Well, what is important is that on the day of election, every party these days is allowed 2 agents.
Yes.
And so these agents have to be vigilant. Sometimes it can be very difficult in an area where you are not strong, because they can be intimidated to a point where they can't do anything about what is happening. That's why I'm worried about the report, and I hope our party organization in the Volta region, in the Akachi constituency...
Well, with video messaging, they can always video something and send it across.
That's right. But I think it's important that on the day of election, they should also ensure that the presiding officer, the polling officer, also validates every ballot paper that they tear.
Goes into.
No, that they tear.
So they tear it and give it to the voter.
Validate.
So you have to validate it before you give it to the voter. So when you are counting...
Yes. If it is not validated, it cannot be counted. You understand?
What about the phenomenon of spoiled ballots?
That's what I'm saying. Maybe sometimes that is why parties try and teach people how to vote. So we are teaching people to vote number 1.
Yeah.
So as you saw in the advert, we show dummy ballots at rallies, and again, so how to thumb in a horizontal manner. Don't do it vertically, because sometimes they can travel over the boundary, and then they can be
but that's always my problem, and I'm really disappointed that we have not had a court decision on this. The processes to interpret what is a spoiled ballot. I believe that Akufo-Addo won 2008. But for that 300,000 spoiled ballots, which I've said several times, they haven't challenged the Yomo mafia. They put Yomo in their hair and then they tamp it anyhow. And then, so if a voter's intention is clear, it should be given to the candidate.
That's right.
But they don't. But they say that the ballot has crossed some line.
And you can see the crossing is just a human error.
It is
the
ballot is to interpret the intention of the voter. If he puts the ballot, I think, even if he puts on Akufo-Addo's face, it is his ballot.
That's right.
They should be counted. We need the court interpretation of this. We cannot leave this to Afarijan's script, which is what he wrote, and we are still using it. The intention of the voter should be very clear.
Now, the amount of spoiled ballots is far too much for a country like Ghana.
It was in 2008. It didn't come in 2016. It came in 2012 again. NDC people don't like it when I say the elections they won always has significant spoiled ballot. 300,000 spoiled ballot. Akufo-Addo was looking for 25,000. I was at the station in Laboni Secondary School, Frank Davis and Co. When they called some ballot spoiled, that has clear Akufo-Addo, and then at the back of the ballot there's another thumbprint. And then they raise it. Hey, there are 2 thumbprints. But the voter's intention was clear. On the page where the candidates are, he thumbprinted Akufo-Addo.
Those are things at IPAC, Inter-Party Advisory Committee. We should resolve it.
What is a spoiled ballot?
And the presiding officer should have the capacity to look at it like a referee on a football pitch and decide that, look, I can determine the intention of this vote.
In England, the only spoil ballot is one whose intention is not obvious.
Obvious.
That's all.
Yeah.
He puts it somewhere else.
Yeah.
Or he puts it in between two candidates. It's not obvious what this voter is doing. So that's a spoil ballot. Yeah. In Ghana, you are voting for Professor Mills. The thing goes cross, and there's the opponent, that's a spoil ballot.
Yeah.
And they drop it,
especially if it is in your stronghold. They can intimidate your agent.
Yes. That is a spoil ballot.
And then also put pressure on the polling official. So those are things that as we grow as a democracy, we have to resolve.
Let me ask you a final question. People complain that all key MPP people say that by midnight we will know. By midnight, people are planning some rigging scheme.
No.
So Bawumia says it, Napo says it. By midnight, what is going to happen?
We started collation in this country in 1996.
MPP?
Yes.
Okay. 96?
Yes. It was tough that time because phones were not, they were just beginning to come. 2000.
2000, you guys did something interesting.
Yes, I was the first to bring a computer.
Somewhere.
I
remember that you guys were hiding somewhere.
No, we had to create a dummy collation center.
Yeah.
Because the BNI were also monitoring us. So we had to create a dummy collation center where we receive our messages from the field. So that me at the Electoral Commission, I can verify from my dummy collation center before I would sign.
Also, when it comes to you in the strong room, you have to sign.
I have to check, yeah.
Yes.
But you have to check with your team whether they are getting the same collation result.
So if it hasn't come, you don't sign?
No, you don't sign. Sometimes you can delay the signing.
You're allowed to do that in the strong room?
For some time.
Okay.
Or Farijan will give you reasonable time.
Okay.
But then you have to make sure,
So you call them and they say, the results you have for Atebubu is not what we have.
It's not what we have.
What do you do?
Then we start verifying it. Because it may be when they are adding.
Okay.
But that's where sometimes the hanky-panky can happen. Because those days, the other parties were quite strong. So they can pick... When they are transferring from the pink sheets to the collation sheet.
2004, the strong room. I did a video of you. We never used it. Anyway, phone. Omunya say... Debbie, you don't mention anybody, you don't mention the party, you just go on. It goes on throughout the whole night. That
was a lot more, I would say, analog. Now it's digital.
It was very analog. And you were writing it on your phone. You write it down.
I still have some of the records, the pieces of paper.
Yeah, it was tough.
It was tough. We were then building it. So that's how come we were able to win 2000. Because we had to do
this election. What will happen by midnight?
It's simpler now because the architect that, and I know they've been testing it, they've done their Sensi has an IT officer, and they've been trained, and they have the cells. They just have to fill the cells. And so once the polling station results get in, assemble all your polling station results. And then, of course, the Excel will just add it for you so you know where you are. And so when we say that by 12 o'clock, we should have a fair idea, especially of the parliamentary, which seats we are picking, winning. Of course, with the presidential, but even then, you can begin to see the trends develop. Now it's quite faster.
Okay.
West from 1992, and then when I moved to my own home, I was still voting in West. Now I pushed it to Adenta.
So you are voting at Adenta?
Yes, but my wife still votes in Ayawaso West. She refused to move with me.
Who is Ayawaso? Is it Ayawaso West Wogon?
It's Kuzimeno.
For the parliamentary elections?
It's 1-1, so you don't...
It's 1-1?
I just vote for...
Number one?
No, there was no. There's no number one on the ballot, although it's the top.
The top.
Okay. I worry about what people say.
Number 8,
that's
true,
good
that's true.
Because they don't number the ballot.
They don't, no.
And you have to look at the sign, the symbol. So vote where the Osno is, where the elephant is. It's at the top. Vote for the elephant, Dr. Bawumia first, and then the parliamentary candidate. For me, it would be Kuzimeno. My wife would vote for Lydia Seram. And so that's what we're going to do. I hope it will be a very wonderful session.
So when should I call you on Saturday to get a first sense of what's happening?
Normally midnight.
1 a.m.?
Normally midnight.
Or should I just drive to your gate? Will you be there?
No, I'll not be there. I'll be with Dr. Bawumia.
Dr. Bawumia will still be in Wale Wale, wouldn't he?
No, he'll come back a bit earlier. He'll go and vote. When he finishes voting, he'll come down.
Okay. Yes. A last round of text messages, ladies. Should I start with Fatih this time? Antoinette. What are they?
Yusuf Muniru Abdulzati says Engineer Kwabena is like an institutional structure where we're talking about political industry. I just like him and I really wish to meet him one day. We have Dash Tinkorn. He says, in fact, Dr. Baomia's message was deep. He kept talking about policies which can change Ghana's developmental projects and innovation as well. God willing, Saturday, let us all go to our polling stations to exercise our franchise. Yusuf Maniru, we appeal and hope the good people of Ghana will give the mandate to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and the NPP to continue their good works, and he adds that it is indeed possible. And lastly, General Air Coleman says to lead is to solve. Politics is not about insults, lies, or loud voices, but it is a competition of ideas and policies. Now the question is, which candidate or party has proven to solve the challenges we face as a nation? The answer, he says, is obvious. DNB and the NPP stand tall. So he's campaigning to vote number 1 to vote DNB, and he campaigns to vote Ophelia Hayford for Infantiman constituency. All right, so yes, just like Ansanat said, a lot of people are impressed by engineer's submission. This one is from Kofi Andrew. He says, please, fellow party people, let us, as a matter of urgency, move in our numbers to go to our various polling centers and cast our votes. Nothing should stop you from going to partake in this very crucial exercise. Remember, no skirt and blouse. You all witnessed what voting skirt and blouse did to us in Parliament. Look at the works that have been carried out by the President and imagine if we had a decisive majority in Parliament. Like, more developmental projects would have been carried out. Vote Dr. Bawumia and vote everything the great elephant has to offer. God bless our homeland, Ghana, and may the new Patriotic Party. Let's welcome a massive and decisive victory come this Saturday. This one is also from Moses. He says, watching Dr. Bawumia rally on stage today gave me great conviction that this man really deserves to be president. Junior Agba says, we're not going to vote for a party that has no campaign message for the good people of Ghana. I have always maintained that the NDC is the problem in this country. Let's come together and do away with them. This one is from Sunday. He says, this is what I am looking forward to. And Paul had it right, interviewing Dr. Bawumia. It brings me the past memories of His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo in our last show for the last elections. Lastly, from Nana Kumi, he says, Apostle Paul, please have a word on the show, on your interview with Black Rasta and why it didn't happen. All right, Fati, what do you have?
All right, thank you. So this is coming from Nana Ekia Sapon. And she says, please, we are all one people. Let us put a stop to this Christianity-Muslim debate. It will not do us any good. Yusuf Muniru says, we appeal and hope the good Ghanaian people will give the mandate to Dr. Bawumia and NPP to continue their good works. It's indeed possible, inshallah. Wilberforce says, I'm telling you, mark it on the wall. NDC thinks they are going to vote. They are going to get votes from Ashanti, but they forgot the NPP is sweeping the north, which will balance the votes and still giving NPP an upper. Kamini says it is possible for DMB and the incoming president. Frempong says, I and my entire family are voting number 1. It is possible. Samuel says the possible buses are moving. Let us all join hands to win this coming election one touch. It is possible. Now back to you, Paul.
All right. What's your last word?
Well, I mean, just to encourage Ghanaians to go out there and vote massively. We want a high turnout, people to exercise their franchise and to be able to select our leader. And I do believe that the hard work that Dr. Bawumia has put into this campaign will pay off. And he's an example for the youth in Ghana, somebody that we can model our lives on. He's a good picture of what a good Ghanaian should be. And I have full confidence that he will lead as well. Just to add that I'm also very available to the people who think they can't get hold of me. I'm always in Accra. The other guy asking for my number and all that.
Yes. Oula Mangote says hi.
Oh, yeah.
He sent a message.
I haven't heard from him.
He's in Boku.
In Boku?
That's where he's based these days.
Okay. Because of
He's doing some security analysis.
Security work.
Yeah.
Okay, we hope that
everything in Boko is calm. Voting will be good there.
Will be good there, and it's calm. We want to encourage everybody. There should be no attempt to suppress the votes of people by creating panic and fear. And I know some people have tried to do that, but Ghanaians should have confidence in the military, have confidence in the state security to enforce law and order. And again, it's just a matter of just lining up quietly, exercising your franchise, waiting around or going home, coming back, listening to the counting and all that. And that should be it. And there should be no need for any ounce of blood of any innocent Ghanaian to be spilled. Ghanaians love our peace. And this is a beautiful country. We are God-blessed country. And the harmony between Muslims and Christians is there, is great. And I think Dr. Bawumia has enhanced it, the way he organized his stakeholder engagements. It's unfortunate some people have said the things that we don't have to be said. But I'm very confident that we'll have a very free, fair election and Dr. Bawumia will come out victorious.
By the time we come back here on Tuesday, viewers, everyone will know. If we have a second round that's going to run on 28th, we will know. If Mahamudu Bawumia has been elected, we will know. If other people have been elected, we will know. We leave it in God's hands. Thank you, Kwabena Agyapong. Good luck to you and your candidate. And thank you, viewers, for watching. Vote wisely. No war, no fight. One Ghana. Peace. I'm out.